Everybody, welcome to Matt's Music Academy. This is actually our first installment of Chat with Matt. We're so excited and glad that you've decided to join us. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to click the bell, subscribe to our channel, and click below. And without further ado, I'm so excited. I've got a great friend of mine and one of the absolute greatest guitar players that has ever walked planet Earth. My good friend, Johnny Hiland. Johnny, so good to have you, buddy.
Well, good to be here, man. It's a pleasure, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
Good to see you.
What's that?
I said it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Hopefully you got a big screen, man. I'm better looking.
I do.
Unfortunately, Johnny, we're getting old. Johnny and I have been friends for just a touch over 20 years now, if we can believe that.
It's been that long, huh?
It's been that long. And I was a young, I think, Johnny, I think you had been in Nashville. Well, let's see, 1998. How long had you been in Nashville in 98?
2 years at that point.
2 years, yeah. So this ain't about me, but how I met Johnny is kind of funny. I was in the military, and I was actually a narcotics agent. And I was on Broadway. Let's just say I was working for the military.
Yeah.
And I walked past Roberts and didn't even look in. I wasn't real familiar with Nashville then. And I remember walking past the door, and I even know what you were playing. You were playing that Mary Mac, dressed in black, silver buttons up and down her back. That you probably...
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And I was stopped in my tracks.
Oh, man.
And who is the old guy that always wore the snakeskin cowboy hat and guarded that door?
Oh, that was Butch.
Butch, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Butch lets me in, and that was my first taste of Johnny Hiland, the Don Kelly Band, Don School of Music. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute because that kind of has its own story as well. But
yes, it does.
That's how Johnny and I met, and we've gone on, and gosh, we spent Thanksgiving together in your apartment one year, and
we sure did.
We could write a book on interesting characters that lived in that apartment, or that.
Could we ever? Yeah.
I'll leave that alone. I don't know. It may not be interesting this day and age. It was then.
Well, it was fun.
Yeah, we had some good times.
Yes, we did, buddy.
Yeah, we had some good times. But so, Johnny, you're in Virginia. We'll go back and forth, but so you are in Virginia now. Where are you living?
Well, actually, we're living in the town right next to where Kimmy grew up.
Okay.
And we're living in a town called Chatham, Virginia. And it's a real small town, man, but we found this big, beautiful home up here. And it's kind of been like, finding your dream home, It's really kind of what happened to us. And as you know, Matt, Nashville's changed a lot, man. And of course, change is inevitable. I'm not saying that it's truly all a bad thing. I just think country music has changed, the city changed, everything about Nashville changed. And when you moved to Nashville in the mid-'90s, you found that change was quite huge.
Yeah.
And so it was time, man. It was I think every dream I had, man, when I moved to Nashville had come true. So really, in essence, it was, if there was any time to move, it was when we moved, which was last December of 2018. So
yeah, and buddy, you can say it. We're going to be doing a lot of these with other, and we talked about this on the phone. It's a little bit of a theme, unfortunately, guys jumping ship, and leaving. So
well, and I think really the change is inevitable with any place, but I think Nashville, everything about Nashville expanded in such a huge way.
Yeah.
But then again, the music industry itself had changed so much that, the last session I did in Nashville, man, I think, a little kid learning how to play could have played the part. It was just a looped part, but you had to have the Les Paul and the half stack and, and you couldn't really play a Telecaster and a good old tube amp anymore. It's just, those days are over,
Yep.
And I mean, I hate to admit that, but And people say, the old saying is, well, music evolves, man, and it's going to come back around. But nah, I don't think so. Not this time.
Yeah, well, definitely. And let's just be honest. I mean, Johnny, you moved to Nashville to be a working musician. And
Yeah.
what people forget, I think, a lot is, and remember, my channel is based all around pickers and musicians, so that's our audience. So, hey, at the end of the day, you're making a living, you know. So it's, hey, yeah, we love music and we love our craft, and so do baseball players and pro athletes. But guess what? They got to get paid, and it's got to be on the terms. And
Well, and I don't think Nashville had a problem with paying their artists. I mean, obviously now on Broadway you can make good money, but you got to be willing to play the newer country music and a lot of rock stuff now. I think that's the thing about excuse me, about Nashville that changed too much was boys were coming into Nashville with Affliction T-shirts, buckle jeans, and a Les Paul and a half stack, saying, you know, playing Def Leppard and AC/DC and Merle Haggard and George Jones, and you know, the stuff I cut my teeth on kind of went to the wayside, if you will.
Yep. Nope, that's right.
That really hurt the heart, man. You know.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. I think, and you know, I also think, in all fairness as well, I think what will, again, my opinion, and I'm obviously not have been involved as you. I'm one of those gig catchers. You know, I've made a living being a full-time fill-in. You know, jumping on. Little Texas, you know, stuff, and you know, but I think, in all fairness, technology has played. I mean, look, you're in Virginia, I'm in Kentucky, and I could email you and say, Johnny, I'm cutting a record, and you could walk out in your pajamas, lay down a track, and make about the same money you would in Nashville sitting in your living room. You know.
Absolutely, man, and I think really technology has a lot to do with the comfort of being able to move, is knowing that I can still be Johnny Hiland and live in a different town and still be able to teach. You know, I teach via FaceTime and Skype now, and of course I do you know, sessions from my studio here in my home. And so you don't have to necessarily go to a studio or a quote big studio to do a session anymore.
Right.
They can email you the tracks, and you can do them right from your own studio in your own home, and do them in your PJs for that fact. So I mean, you know, technology has definitely made some inroads, if you will, to guys being able to not have to live directly in Nashville. And I think I'm, you know, proof positive that you can do that and still make a living and do your job. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think, even Johnny, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think when you cut Loud and Proud, what year was that? That was back 08?
2006, 2007, somewhere in there.
I mean, even back then, if I recall, I mean, Ricky was on that record, Steve Warner. A lot of those guys even stayed at the house and cut it and sent it in, or did it, you know, you went to them. I mean, even then.
Ricky's got a big, beautiful studio, man. You know, he started Skaggs Family Records, and so he had and Steve Warner's got a big, beautiful studio too. But Vince Gill actually came in the studio with me.
Yep.
And but I mean, yeah, I got to go to Steve's studio and got to, you know, been to Ricky's many times and won a Grammy with him on Brand New Strings back in 2004. So I got to, you know, spend some time in his studio.
Yep.
But yeah, they had really nice full blown studios, man. But nowadays, what I'm trying to do here in Chatham, also via my Facebook and other things, is just try to show kids you don't have to have this big, huge, elaborate studio to be able to make great music and have fun.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And I literally am running Nuendo with a PC and you know, just have a couple of studio monitors down there, but I'm running Roland V drums, and I'm running, you know, Kiesel guitars through everything, Godans for acoustics, and, you know, plugging into a little Scarlett, you know, Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, man, to get my sound. And, you know, technology's definitely come a long way, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And again, I'm not against that. Here we are, you know, because it connects guys like you with the world. Again, I'm going to bounce around a little bit, but you made me think of something else, and that is, I'll tell you what else I think technology has done, and I've got a little bit of a theory. You know, you mentioned this. Music has gone much simpler, and I think the contemporary Christian movement was a lot of that too, because it was it's 7 or 8 different, and I'm not bashing it at all. It's great. It's great, but young people were playing that. It's easy to play. It is what it is. It's easy to play. It sounds more like U2 with a bunch of delays, and it just kind of moved into the mainstream.
It did.
But what I have noticed with technology and with cameras and all this, people don't play as clean as you. I mean, you know.
Well, I think there is something to be said, man, about, you know, like even now I've had some of the Nashville boys that call me and check in with me and stuff. They've said to me, hey, man, now it's in-ears and Kempers downtown. And, dude, I'll be honest. I mean, when I played with Don Kelly at Robert's Western World, I remember I didn't even know what a compression pedal was, man.
Yep.
And, so playing with Don, I got my first compressor and I put it on my board and I squeezed. And let's face it, man, back then, the cool tone was like Keith Urban and the Ranch, you know.
That's
so
right.
He was
Absolutely.
compressing his tone.
Yeah, absolutely.
I took my compressor down there, and of course, the first thing Don says is, "Boy, get that thing off that pedal board. You don't need that." And so he
taught are doing that.
but, you know, it's but then again, that's where the cleanliness came from, though, because when you don't have a compressor to rely on, it makes you play cleaner. And I think nowadays, man, kids, you know, when you plug in your guitar direct to a computer thing or add waves plugins or whatever you want to your guitar tone, yeah, it does enable you to play a lot. You don't have to be as clean or as precise anymore.
Yep.
So you're right. But I think, man, I have to say that Don Kelly and playing with his band at Robert's Western World, man, really helped enable me to become a clean player based on not what I wanted, but what Don wanted and what, you know, really when you're playing in a band, the band leader, you know, the man that's paying you, if he tells you no compression, there's no compression. So
you got to eat.
You're going to do what he tells you to. But then again, I give a lot of thanks to Don, man, because really those barroom boot camp days at Roberts really helped pave the way for my tone today. You know, I really do have to give Don a lot of thanks, a lot of credit, because he was hard on me, man, but it really did make me a better player.
Yeah, and those familiar know, you know, we refer to it as the Don Kelly School of Music down there on Broadway. But
absolutely, man, yeah.
And he's got a long line, and there's videos, and if you're not familiar with Don Kelly, you can look it up. So he's still Don's got to be 95 years old down there. I don't know.
No, he ain't that old, but I tell you, he's still just as ornery and you know, I say this, I tease about Don saying he's ornery and stuff, but when you have a band leader that knows what he wants and knows the tone that needs to be there to create his sound, you got to take your hat off to the man. He really he has helped so many great guys, from Brent Mason, Troy Lancaster, Kenny Vaughn, Rod Riley, Red Bocart. Then I was in the band, and Guthrie Trapp, Daniel Donato. I mean,
JD. Yep.
So I mean, he's really, really helped open up massive doors in a tonal way to getting the right sound. And so I still to this day give Don a lot of credit for that. And on top of that, man, he used to pay you and he'd go, "Here, boy, take this money and go and buy yourself a tone." He was hard, but then, I can tell you this, man, it's been a good 20 years since I've been in that band. And
gosh, that blows my mind.
The same way I did when I was with Don, you know.
Man.
So,
I'm going to ask you some random questions here.
Sure.
Do you still own Gracie?
No.
Oh, what happened to her?
Long story on that, but I actually, when I parted with it, it went to a very dear friend of mine who I can get it back from anytime.
Okay. All right. Well, and for those y'all don't know, Gracie was a Telecaster that Johnny had for years, and I just remember her. I have a daughter named Gracie. I don't know if you know that or not, but
I did not know that.
There was a little inspiration there. So you don't know.
Well, you know, Dion Edge in Nashville built a kind of replica of that guitar, and he put it up on my Facebook page a few weeks ago, man, because Keeley just released a Johnny Hiland Sweet Spot Super Drive. And so he had that new pedal with that guitar, and he was playing his church gig with it. And I was really tickled by that. But
Wow.
that was a good guitar, man. But Fender, my days with Fender didn't last but 4 or 5 years. And,
Yep. Well, I don't understand. Hey, you know what? Most people aspire to get to Fender, but it is what it is. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, kind of your evolution and stuff, and
Sure.
again, kind of segueing off something else you said. I try to think, when I bring your name up, when I name drop you, Highland.
Good gracious.
I get a lot of questions, different questions, and I'm going to try to. So, guys watching this, I'm hoping I can answer some of those questions. We're not going to do any playing, but just questions like that. So, because I remember the Visual Sound Route 66 days,
Oh yes.
Of which I still have that compressor, by the way.
Yes,
I won't say you gave it to me because you would never do that, but I got a compressor that used to belong to you. Let's just put it that way.
There you go.
So, but I remember those days, and to where you are now. And let's just face it, Johnny. It's no secret. You're a gear junkie. Come on, you're a gear nut. You like it.
Oh, I do, man. I do, and But I think part of that, Matt, for me is also just helping kids, man. It's been one of my biggest dreams in my lifetime to be able to help kids and really, so when I worked with pedal companies and different things through the years, a lot of times, man, I would call the company up and say, well, man, I've got a different so-and-so pedal now. The one that you've given me really served the test of time for me, but I'd love to pass it on to a kid that's in need. And they would let me do that. And so I would build kids pedal boards and stuff like that. And so being a gear nut really isn't necessarily just so much from my own perspective. It's trying to help other folks too. Yeah,
no, I get that. I also mean it more from a standpoint, but you cross a lot of genres. I mean, we can look up Johnny Hiland playing on a Rebecca Lynn Howard record and a bluegrass record on stage with Ricky Skaggs, and then holding a telly playing with Sammy Hagar. You cross so many genres, and what's always been cool about you, and what I always thought just one of the coolest things is, even during the favored nations days and stuff, you always had that country twang in your playing, and you're still the only guy that was out there doing that, the only guy doing it.
Man, I think it's inevitable now. We have to do all we can do to keep chicken picking alive, brother.
Absolutely.
That's just how it is, man. And
that's how it is.
It's kind of a dying art form, but then again, we're not going to let it die, man. We just got to keep doing it.
That's right. But yeah, man, you're always so good at that. I mean, I just, even going back to the gear stuff, like, you've talked about, you're playing a telly, you move on to playing these tours with Satriani and Vi and all this. Now I need a whammy bar. Now I'm going to be doing more sweeps. Now I need this sound. I need.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to have different things. Now it's like, okay, I'm getting back to this place, and I think a lot of it too, Johnny. You tell me. There's a big difference in moving in from a 4 or 5 piece band doing sessions to going to a lot of times you traveling as a trio, and how much more ground you have to cover as a.
Well, thank God, man. I was able to always kind of keep a 4-piece, going, and having like Solon Smith played keyboards with me for quite a while, and he's a monster.
Yeah.
And, but the funny thing is, man, I always wanted to have that 4th piece just so that I could be a little more open with my playing and not have to cover all of that ground. And I grew up cutting my teeth in Maine playing in 3-piece bands, so I learned that stuff really young.
Yeah.
Then again, when I formed the Johnny Hiland band, I really wanted to have that 4th piece, whether it be a second guitar player or a keyboard player. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I tell you what'll spoil you quick's playing with a steel guitar player.
Ain't that the truth?
They feel so much, especially as a singer. It's like, oh God, where did it go?
Well, Matt, one of the things too, brother, I want to really clear the air on, especially with a friend of mine all these years. It's been said all through the internet and different places that Johnny Hiland is a, quote, gear whore kind of guy. I want people to understand the realization of what happened in my career. And essentially, I moved to Nashville with $98 in my pocket. I was never made of money, and I'm still not made of money. I was the type of artist, man, growing up and coming through the ranks, if you will, in my early Nashville days, where I had to literally rely on my endorsers to help me just become the artist I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I moved from Fender to PRS. And, of course, in those days, I needed 24 frets on a trem to do the shows I was doing with George Clinton and P-Funk and Sammy Hagar and G3 and stuff like that. And then, of course, playing, you know, a lot of different style sessions as well. I needed the 24 frets. And, you know, at the time, you couldn't get a Fender Tele like that.
Yeah.
So, and then, of course, you know, through life, you know, stuff happens in the business world that makes you leave a company.
Sure.
So I left with PRS. I went on to Music Man, and virtually Music Man acted like I just didn't exist as an artist, or I wasn't big enough for them to make an artist model with. But now I'm with Kiesel Guitars, and I got to tell you, man, they're the best company I've ever been with. They're a family-owned corporation, you know, guitar manufacturer. And to be honest with you, man, I finally found my guitar home after all of these years.
Awesome.
But people say, oh, man, Johnny's a jumper. He's a gear whore. He's this, he's that. No, man, I really did need, when a company got to the point where they weren't supporting me, and yet I was doing all these videos and things to help them, I literally had to move on to a company who was willing to help me because of monetary purposes, because of things, you know, in the industry being the way they were. So it wasn't necessarily just based on me jumping, per se, company to company. It was literally based on a necessity of finding the right company that would stand behind me as an artist and help me along the way. Not just in a financial way, advertisements, you know, being in magazines, different things like that. There's so many factors that are involved in that. But I want people to know it's not about being a, quote, gear whore or anything like that. It was just having support of a company in the best way possible to keep my artistry going. Yeah,
absolutely, man. And as a friend, you know, like you said, guys like me know this, but we all, and that's great that you clear the air. People do say that, but
yes.
The guys that know you, no, there's a specific reason. I needed this. I needed the 24. I mean, I can remember being at your house and opening up the garage and just seeing that had nothing to do with you. You weren't asking for this stuff. People after you. But the one thing I can say, if you are a company out there watching this video and looking at Johnny. The one thing I know you do get is when you get Johnny behind your company, you get Johnny all in, man. You get Johnny 100%.
Well, and Matt, I have to state this too, brother. I've never ethically taken anything from a company that I couldn't help.
Right.
You know, I got friends of mine that have 400 or 500 guitars. You know, people who are names in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I have 30 guitars. I've had guitar companies send me guitars. Well, man, we just want to build you one. Mm-hmm. Well, brother, if I can't help you support it, I'm not going to accept it. Yeah. Pedal companies, same way, man. I mean, now granted, pedals are a little different because they're ear candy and they add to your sound.
Yep.
Sometimes, I mean, I've built up studio pedal boards that just were for the studio. People didn't see them in magazines or see them in, you know, with me on the road and stuff like that. So pedals are a little bit different, but amplifier companies and guitar companies, I've never ethically taken anything from anyone I couldn't help or push or do something with. And so, you know, I still have 30 guitars. I don't have 400, you know. And granted,
I can't say the same about me, Johnny. I'm looking at 30 guitars right here.
Oh my goodness, buddy. Well, I swear, man, I have literally 30.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
I just don't. I don't believe in accepting something from someone just because they love your playing and they want to build you one. That's fine, but let's face it, man. I mean, everybody out there in this industry is looking for, you know, help. The artist wants help from the company wants help from the artist, and so really, I think it's a two-way street there. But to be honest with you, I'm in the best home possible now with Kiesel Guitars, man. I love those so much. And my new Johnny Hiland model, the JH6, man, is just it's back to a T-style guitar. It's very simple and easy to run. Billy Magella from Electric City Pickups was building my pickups, and he had a few health issues go on, and so Kiesel is making all my pickups in-house now as well.
Wow.
Honestly, brother, I couldn't be more happy today. I'm with Cliff Coltrane and Destroy All Guitars. So I'm endorsing Reeves amplifiers and Fat Jimmy amps, and I think they're just two of the best amps in the world.
Oh, man, killer.
And I've been Reeves Space Cowboys since 2012.
Been a while.
And I just picked up Fat Jimmy last year because I was looking for that American-sounding amp as well, like a good old Fender,
Yep.
But now I've got the Kiesel guitar, and I've got, been working with Keeley Electronics a bunch, and so a lot of my board is Keeley Electronics now, and Go-Go Tuner.
He's been known to make a pretty good pedal.
He really does, man. But I guess what I'm saying is, for people who still believe I'm a gear whore out there, no, not. Like I said, I had to try to clear the air a little bit so people would understand. It's not necessarily just based on me wanting to jump. It was business-related things that caused me to go to another company.
Yep.
And, but today, man, I'm more happy than I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I'll be with Kiesel Guitars until Jeff Kiesel either shoots me in the head or I die on my own. I just really, really love their guitars, man. And Fat Jimmy amps and Reeves amps. I love the tone I get with them. And I've got 2 or 3 little pedal boards around here. I got a small little travel size one and a medium honky tonk board, and then a big board I take out. But really, man, my rig is pretty simple these days, and really just how I like it.
Yep. And that's great, man, that you say that. And again, for people watching this, it's a lot of players and a lot of guys, just semi-pro or just, as a hobby, and they watch videos. The other thing that goes into that, John, and you can attest is, and I'm the same way, you have to be looking for something because things evolve and things, you do a fly date, people just think your rig shows up. No, I mean, you have to rely on backline amps and backline this and back. People don't get that and they just think, oh, he's a gear whore. No, it's because, man, I need to find something that does this, because when I use a backline amp, there's no boost, to get my sound, because guess what? Whether I'm using a backline amp or I'm using this pedal board or this chord or whatever it is, people expect me to sound like Johnny Hiland when I play that show. And you have to find, how do I get that when those things aren't available? That's a lot of.
Well, to be honest, Matt, I was in a tone search for a long time, brother. I mean, once the Fender thing fell through, I had my PRS days and I was thankful for those. And then, of course, went on to Music Man, trying to be more kind of get away from the telly at that time and try to do something a little different, but still have my tone.
Right.
And let's face it, man, a lot of the amp companies I was with at that time, man, all kind of went out of business.
Yep. So
it seemed like I went from PV to Bolt amps to CEC amps, and then then I was playing Music Man amps. I got a few of the old ones, and but I was in the tone search too. I was trying to find the Johnny Hiland sound without using an old Fender Telly and a twin. And so it did take me quite a few years to find the tone where I was actually happy. And now being with Kiesel guitars and Fat Jimmy amps and Reeves, I finally have what I consider my true own identity in tone that I had back in the Roberts days.
Yeah.
It took me a long time, man. I went through a lot of transitions in my playing and in my growth and in my artistry, making records and doing all kinds of stuff, man, my teaching and everything. It's evolved like anything else.
Which is a good thing. Yeah, it was great.
A lot of business reasons as to why I was moving in and out of companies. It wasn't that I wanted it to happen. It was just the nature of the beast. It was the beast itself that enabled all that to happen. So,
hey, look, man, the fact is, people can say that, but look at the guitars you've had. Look at the people you've had. I couldn't have a Matt Lyra model Esteban guitar, man. And
Oh, yes, dude. But I will say, Matt, I've been so blessed, man, and I've had a lot of faith in the good Lord above, and you're always going to have people shooting negativity at you if you're just trying to be a good guy and do the right thing. I admit my life and career ain't been I've always tried to do people right, and in this industry, that's very hard to do.
Yep.
And sometimes, man, when you're just trying to be a good guy, you're going to take flack from it in some way.
Yep.
So I guess the gear whore thing was something that people could find to pounce on me with. I don't know, but
well, that's because we can't play like you, Johnny. That's just
good gracious, man. Here again, Matt, that's a gift from the good Lord too, brother.
Yeah, that's true. Well, listen, man, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about picking. Let's talk about some picking. Want to do that?
Yeah.
You'll talk. So let's see them nails, Johnny. What do they look like nowadays?
Well, they're long.
Hold them up to your face there. Let's see how long they are. Let me see them face.
Long right now. I got to have them filled in, but.
All right, there it is.
There they are.
So here's a question I get a lot.
All right.
Johnny Hiland has been a flat picker his whole life. He's holding, what is this man? Now, remember, I tried to get you using a thumb pick back in the day. I'm just throwing that out there.
You did. Yes, you did.
I mean, I've still got a Fred Kelly just sitting here, but Johnny, I know the reason, but tell people we're seeing you with a thumb pick now. Why is that?
Man, midway through 2018, I started having I was doing a residency down at Acme Feed and Seed in Nashville, and I started experiencing some really bad right hand troubles where it was like it was impossible for me to hold a flat pick. And of course, most people know I had a V pick out.
Mm-hmm.
That I truly love that flat pick, man. I just cannot hold it anymore.
Yep.
I had something happen with my index finger and my thumb, and
not good for a guitar player.
What's that?
Not good for a man making a living with a guitar.
And I'll be honest, man. I literally, man, was just thinking, "Good Lord, my career's over. I'm done." But I refused to take no for an answer, and Noki Edwards had given me a thumb pick a few years prior, and he said, "Boy, if you ever learn to play with this thing, man, you're going to be just deadly." And of course, I was laughing, and I said, "Well, nope, I just can't get the feel of one, man. I used to play 5-string banjo. I mean, I've had thumb picks on in the past, but just playing guitar with it felt weird." But that happened, man. I had no other choice but to put on a thumb pick, and I probably spent $400 or $500 just buying different thumb picks and trying to find the one that worked the best for me.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, man, I'm using the Fred Kelly Slick Pick Poly now. They used to make them out of the Delrin, the yellow and orange ones.
Yep.
But now they're making them out of like a regular plastic, like a normal flat pick would be, but in a thumb pick.
Nice.
And I fell in love with them. They got a rounded edge, so you can do up and down strokes a lot easier. And of course, I tried Dunlop's Pro Picks. Good gracious, I tried Blue Chip. I tried I tried everything.
I get bumpy. Yeah.
So, but the Fred Kellys just seem to work the best, and it's a blessing for me. It's taken me about 1.5 years to really get used to it. But when you have no other choice, man, you just do what you got to do. And literally, I felt like that was the only answer for me. But now that I've become a thumb picker, man, I can be truthful about it. I didn't like it at first, but over time, when you realize you have no other choice, you just do what you got to do, and keep. Everyone kept saying to me, Tom Bresh and Tommy Emanuel and all my my buddies, said, "Don't stop doing it. Just keep practicing with it. It'll come." And I kept wanting it right then and there because I had to be Johnny Hiland and do shows and do sessions, and I needed to have it right on the spot. But you know as well as I do, Matt, you're not going to become a thumb picker overnight.
No way.
It took me a little time, man, to really. I mean, sure, I went out and did shows right off the bat, but I just found I was so sloppy with it, and I couldn't control it the way I wanted to. It's literally taken me about 1.5 years to really develop my own thumb picking style.
Yeah.
And now I'm grateful for it, brother. I really am. And I still wear my V-pick on my arm most of the time on a pick band. But then again, it's more for just showing people that I still love my V-pick. It's just, unfortunately, I can't use it,
Yeah. So are you wearing? So I've used Fred Kelly picks for probably 20 years. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't have a deal. Maybe I can get a Fred Kelly deal out of it. I've used them for years. I'm just saying. And I tried to get Johnny Fred Kelly. I tried to get Johnny 20 years ago. So interesting picker questions that only pickers care about. No, but you haven't gone to a nail on your pointer finger though.
That's the finger that's still really giving me some trouble. So I pretty much, well, here's a funny story, Matt. You'll appreciate this, brother. So I started my thumb picking experience and found that my index finger was still really hurting and cramping and doing all kinds of weird stuff. And so I started using the thumb pick the way that I would do the flat pick. I just didn't use the index finger. And so we used to have a thing in Nashville called Gluttony where me and Tom Bresh and a bunch of songwriting buddies and my manager at the time, we'd all get together and go eat. And so like the first Wednesday of every month, we'd get together and go eat somewhere. So I asked Tom Bresh, I said, Bresh, man, it just seems really weird that I can't use my index finger. And I said, man, I'm just using my middle and ring finger, acrylics, and then I'm just using my thumb pick. I said, is that okay? I said, or is it like so improper that, I'd get made fun of or people would be like, you're not doing it right or whatever. And Bresh kind of just wrapped his arm around me and he said, son, if it worked for Jerry Reed, it ought to work for you.
Yeah, that's who I think of.
But then again, I didn't know the story, Matt. And he said, no, man. He said, how do you think Jerry Reed come up with the claw? He said, Chet told Jerry where he tucked his index finger in, it made his hand look like a claw.
Wow.
So that whole thing came about was Jerry didn't use his index finger either.
Yeah. And I'll show people and I've got a thumb pick on Jerry. For those of you who haven't ever watched, Jerry would literally he would tuck totally that point. That's what he's talking about when he would play.
He tucked that index
finger. Used it. Never used it. Yep.
Nope.
And he did okay. He was all right.
I'm kind of the same way, man. I can't use that index finger. So, but then again, what it really did for me though, Matt, in really capping this off, is I was able to keep my same style that I used with the flat pick, just transition over to the thumb pick. And what would happen is I would try to put my index finger on the bottom of the thumb pick to give me that flat pick feel, just starting out, And then over time, I was able to just let go of it completely and just play, use the thumb pick the way I needed to.
Yeah.
But then again, man, it's become, like I said, it's become a blessing and a new way for me to play. But I will say, you included, everyone that told me, man, you'll be a better, cleaner player if you use a thumb pick. And I kept going, it's absolutely the truth. It will clean you up. It will give you a new muting technique on the bridge.
Exactly.
A whole different way of laying your hand down and relying on your wrist and not your forearm.
Yes.
So there you have it, folks. Try a thumb pick. Get a Fred Kelly Poly Slick pick, and trust me, you'll be flying in no time.
Well, mine, I've got the orange one here, but I use the yellow one too. And I kind of saw mine a little bit and because it's interesting. Because see, I always played with a thumb pick, and I have no reason. I'm not a thumb picker, and I'm not a. If we were at the CAS meeting or something, I definitely couldn't call myself a thumb picker. But I use these fingers. This is my speed and my rolls. I rarely use my third finger there. Rarely. Just grabbing chords and stuff. Well, guys like you, you can do – I do my rolls right here. You like a banjo player would, and you guys – the point is, it doesn't matter. You got to make it your – and I know some people are watching this going, really, Matt? You had the audacity to tell Johnny that he needed –
No.
He could be cleaner? Let me tell you something. If you've never seen Johnny Hiland live like me, I've sat in the man's basement several times, and it sounds like as I'll tell you a quick story on Solon. Solon and I still play together all the time. Good friend of mine. And for those of y'all, if you check out the Loud and Proud album, that's Solon. Great. And by the way, I brought him to town, dang it, Johnny, to be a guitar player. And by God, take him to a music store and make him a piano. We hate playing the piano.
Well, dude, I'm gonna tell you this. You think you're funny right now. Let me tell you the truth. I ended up getting a Roland Go piano for my studio.
Okay.
And boy, hear what a pig under a gate sounds like. You just listen. But I will admit, man, I did a session for a guy the other day, and I actually played some really good old Pig Robbins style rhythm stuff.
Yeah, and man.
I love Pig Robbins, man. Pig played on my new gospel album that I've got out called Pickin for the Lord.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Great album. Great album.
Yeah, brother. And I will admit, getting Pig in the studio was just so much fun, man. I adore that man so much.
Pig can do more with the bottom half of a piano than most people can do with 6 pianos lined up, man. He can play. He's like Vince in that. Vince can take 4 notes and make you look like horrible, you know. Pig can take 4 notes on a piano down here, and you're like, that's it.
Dude, Pig was funny. I had him play on Farther Along, which is one of my favorite gospel tunes, you know. And I just knew that was the one he had to come play on. And so, funny story, man. I went to Pig's house to pick him up. And he said, yeah, well, I'll come play on it, but you got to come get me. Man, I told Pig coming out of his house, I said, boy, I said, you know, this is looking pretty funny. Someone needs to have a video camera on us. A legally blind guy escorting a blind guy out to the car. If we fall, you got some big old chunk of meat to fall on, man, meaning me. I said, but dude, I said, if you're relying on this blind boy, we both gonna be in trouble.
Johnny, I think they call that the blind leading the blind, don't they? I was going to ask Johnny Hiland, Pig Robbins in a car. Who drives? I guess it'd have to be you.
Well, I tell you, I don't know how long we'd last, but I'll tell you this though, man. He got in the studio there and he started playing the melody to Farther Along, and he was playing his Pig Robbins thing, you know. And all of a sudden, I said, hey, Pig, I said, slap a few of them low notes in there for me, man. Just maybe end your solo with. He's like, oh, man, it's going to cost extra to get them money notes.
Oh, them money notes.
Them money notes and big old low Pig Robbins, you know, drone. But I love that man to death, man. He is just awesome.
Oh, man, definitely, absolutely one of my favorites.
I had to put a piano icon on there, man. It was just fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, my favorite piano player, I'd never tell Solon this. He's actually one of my favorite piano players. But
I too.
Yeah. So but my favorite piano player is, and I'm actually looking at a picture of us together. Is another blind guy in town named Gordon Moat, man. And Gordon is one of my.
Well, and funny Gordon story, man. We were at Curb Records one day cutting together. And, man, it's so funny because usually when you're in a big studio like that, after you finish your tape, you know, everyone's kind of, well, let's go on and take a listen, you know. Well, I had to overdub a solo because I had gone down with electric rhythm guitar and I wanted to put the solo on after. Well, Gordon wanted to do a piano part. So we go on through the track, play our solos and everything. And then all of a sudden, when the track stopped, the engineer's like, all right, boys, I'll tell you all got it. Well, then nothing happened. Nobody came in for either one of us to help us out through. Chords and drums, everything. I mean, that studio was just mobbed with cables and stuff. I thought, Gordon, we sat there in silence for a few minutes, and Gordon goes, I think they forgot us, Johnny.
I think they forgot us.
I said, well, give me a minute, buddy, to get through this big pile of cables, and I'll come get you. Man, I'm walking out through that studio arm in arm, man, and everyone just started roaring, laughing. Man, look at y'all. I said, and they said, man, and you didn't even fall. I said, no, we didn't fall. We just took her slow, but we made it out through, boys.
Took her slow. And, you know, studios are just so lit for you to see anyway, you know, even if you can't, yeah.
Well, actually, Curb Records has you know, when we recorded over, I don't remember exactly. I think it was, I can't remember the studio we were in. I think it was just Curb. It was a part of Curb.
Yeah.
But anyway, the studio itself was really well lit, and you know, Greg Morrow was on drums, and Bruce Mountain was on pedal steel, and you know, who was? I think Larry Franklin was on fiddle, and Gordon's on piano, and man, well, I mean, we had a hell of a band in there. But,
oh my gosh, buddy, yeah.
You know, Gordon and I just got stuck in there, man. We had to get out through all them cables. And I was laughing to myself and told Gordon later, I said, boy, wouldn't it be my luck to go in there to get you and knock Bruce Bouton's pedal steel right on its ass? Just bam, God, I didn't do that, man. So
he'd had to kill you. He'd had to kill you.
What had to kill me then? Yeah.
I mean, and you couldn't blame him. Like, you got to kill me. I mean, you got to kill me.
Hands up, man. Just go do your thing, man. Just rip me up, man.
Oh my gosh, man. I want to play a little game with you here, all right?
All right.
I'm going to name an artist, not an artist, but I'm going to name a player, maybe an artist or a player, and I just kind of want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. All right?
All
right. I'm just going to kind of run through a list of these, all right?
All right.
Let's start with one that I know you're going to enjoy. Danny Gatton.
My idol. My absolute guitar hero, man. I mean, a man that showed no fear on the instrument and could virtually do anything on it. Any genre, any style, anywhere, anytime. And he'd tear your face off, man. Absolutely my guitar hero.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask a follow-up question with that and I do not mean this in any disrespectful way to Danny Gatton because I'm with you. But I get asked this a lot. Johnny Hiland, Danny Gatton, but, man, that tone that Danny had. Why do you think he was so tinny on his tone?
Well, man, like any guitar player, brother, I think Danny played so many gigs all through his life. And over time, the high end of your hearing just starts going, man. So you crank it.
I kind of thought that's kind of what it was. I said, I don't think he hears it.
I don't either, brother. And I will say, man, I mean, Danny, I mean, that's the word I heard. I don't really know per se, but I know that over time his tone did get a little more trebly. And let's face it, man, he was using Barden pickups and those things, man, you gotta know how to dial them back. But if you want them to roar at you, they will roar. And Danny made them roar.
Hey, look, if you can play like Danny Gatton, does it really freaking matter?
Well, that's his tone can be anything he wants it to be.
All right, let's move on. Red Volkart.
Genius.
All right.
Absolute genius. He has been the man who has kept Jimmy Bryan alive in today's world. Genius on the guitar, man. He's and I just heard he recently moved to Galax, Virginia, about 100 miles from it.
Yeah. Yes. He played his last show in Austin, I think, this past weekend.
I'll say this about Red too, man. It seemed like most people don't know this, but when I first moved to Nashville, I acquired the nickname Red Jr. And the funny thing is, I remember standing in the door of Roberts one day, and this guy walked in and he said, "Hey, son, how's your dad doing? Is he still out with Merle Haggard?" And he didn't know Red was standing right next to me. I turned around and I said, "Hey, Pops, you still out with Haggard?"
He's still out with Haggard.
Last time I checked.
Oh, yeah.
Last time.
Love me some Red.
I love some Red Volkart too, bud.
All right, love some Red. All right, let's move on. This is fun. Scotty Anderson.
Genius. He is the man that plays what I call impossible chicken picking. His triple stops, his technique are just flawless. And he is the man that makes you scared to death to try a thumb pick. Because if you're using Scotty Anderson as an example, you would throw the thumb pick in the trash and say, "I can't do it."
Yeah, good luck with that. Now, Scotty's going to be on here. Scotty lives about 4 hours. He's in Cincinnati. I've communicated with Scotty several times, and he's another one.
I played a gig with Tim McDonald up in Cincinnati, man, and he was playing a gig right down the street, and we were playing at the same dogged time, so I couldn't get down to see him.
Oh.
But absolutely one of my favorite guitar players in today's world, man, and Scotty is just he's a beast, man. He's absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. All right, this is fun. I'm going to jump genres here. Joe
right.
Bonamassa.
Blues icon, brother, and a smoking guitar player. He I think he has really helped change the face and the voice of blues, man. I think he's really, but yet carrying on tradition at the same time.
Yeah.
Classic
Joe, Prodigy.
yeah, Joe has been a friend for years, man, and I you know, watching that man grow, you know, as an artist all his life too. I'm proud of him as a friend, but also I'm just, you know, I stand in awe of what he's done in the industry, man. He's a great player and just super guy.
Yeah. All right. Brent Mason.
Most recorded guitar player in Nashville history now, man. I mean, just an absolute icon. So proud to call Brent a friend, man. But when you think of how many sessions that man's done and how many records he made sound good, you know, and of course the man who has really paved the way for all of us younger guitar players to try to emulate. I mean, he was when you heard any top 40 country song in the last 25 years, it was probably Brent on it. And so I can tell you this, Brent Mason was one of the guys I cut my teeth on, and I give my hats off to the man. I adore him as a friend, proud to know him and have him as a friend and a brother, but like I said, he's an icon, and you can't take that away from the man.
Yeah. So I will name, I've got a son named Mason. See what I do there? See how I do this? Yeah. So I'm going to name a guy who recently passed away and whom I consider, no offense, I consider the greatest session player that ever lived, Reggie Young.
Man, you know, well, completely different style than Brent, and I'm sure him and Brent were dear friends. You know, Reggie used to come down and watch me at Roberts, man. That's how I got to know him. And for the longest time, I didn't even know who he was at that point until the records came forth that he had played on that I had listened to for years, and then went, oh, my Lord, that's him, you know. But, yes, and absolutely. I mean, man, there is no one better to play a ballad than Reggie Young. I mean, just
he was the guy who is credited really with bringing the volume pedal to the guitar player as well, you know.
Absolutely. And on top of that, man, I mean, I don't think anybody can play a more soulful ballad, you know, and add that real strat tone to country music the way Reggie did. I mean,
running direct even. We're not talking Kemper direct and Helix direct. We're talking direct.
No. Yeah, no, he well, another man that paved the way and certainly gave us guitar players all a huge lineage of massively great licks to learn and to try to grab onto what Reggie was feeling and the soul that he was putting into each solo was just mind-blowing, man. You had to it took me years and years to pick up some of Reggie's stuff, man, and yeah, just a true legend, man. Absolutely.
Guthrie Govan.
Beast. Absolute bloody
big old beast.
Actually, I met Guthrie over at the guitar show, man. We played on stage together, and he's you know a dear friend. I don't get to see all that often, but I do love the man, and just virtuosic. I mean, just an absolute beast on the instrument.
He still doesn't live in the States, does he?
I'll tell you, man, he's flawless. He's flawless. He makes it look so easy and effortless. But I mean, the man does.
I hate him. I hate guys like that.
Yeah, you can't even fathom. You know.
I think we should kill those guys. Just you know, the more we can get rid of, Johnny.
But he's a beast, though, man. He really is. I'll have to put him in the bloody beast category.
Yeah, the bloody beast category.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back chicken picking. A guy you can look up some YouTube videos that I know. Knowing you like I know you, you were probably shaking in your knees and beyond excited when I saw you and Mr. Albert Lee on stage together.
Absolute one of the highlights of my life, man. I don't know if that man understands how much I adore him as a person and a player. We've had numerous times to get to know one another as friends, and I just adore Albert Lee so much. But honestly, man, another icon in the regard that he left us such a path of amazing licks that were his own, that didn't sound like, I think the beautiful thing about chicken picking, when you look at it, Matt, Brent didn't sound like Albert. Albert didn't sound like Don Rich or James Burton. They all had their own identity.
Yep.
Red Young didn't sound like any of them. They all had their own. Danny Gatton had his own thing. I think that's what's been so uniquely cool about the art of chicken picking is every icon has left their own identity and own mark and lineage of great licks that we've learned through the years. And Albert is definitely on the top of my list for that, man. All the way back from Emmy Lou's Hot Band to, Luxury Liner to, Country Boy, he wrote that. I mean, I just give that man so much credit, man. He is well, he's a bloody beast too.
He's a bloody beast too. And listen, I don't think he gets enough credit for bringing a B-Bender where it was too. He did a lot of that. People always remember the Music Man, but he did a lot of B-Bender stuff with Telly.
Well, brother, he's actually got a Music Man with a bender in it.
Oh, well, of course he does. He's Albert Lee. I mean,
That's right. Well, he's
bloody beast.
I'll tell you this, man. He is a. What I love about Albert Lee is that he's not afraid to. He always plays to his best. To his best. He always, when you see the man on stage, he's virtuosic.
Yep.
But I love the fact that you can sometimes hear Albert get off his own path live.
Yep.
And try different things. And see him kind of stretch out a little bit. I've always loved that about him. And Danny was the same way. I mean, you would think they were both going to just train wreck. And they always pull out of it. And you go, oh, it's like you want to just grab your head and go, how did they pull out of that? I mean, it's those guys, man, that give you reasons to look up to them for their virtuosity and what they do.
Absolutely. I'm gonna keep going with this, man. I'm telling you, I know guys that ask these kind of questions to me all the time. What does Johnny think of these players, man? And a lot of people haven't heard of these guys. I'm going to name another guy who I consider a crazy good guitar player, not a traditional Nashville guy. Of course, he's a big producer there now. Dan Huff.
Dude, I'll just say this. He's a giant. That's all I have to say. He really a guy, man, that helped bring the West Coast sound to Nashville.
Yep.
In that he was such a virtuosic rock player, and then I'm not saying that Dan Huff was the main man who brought all the rock stuff to Nashville.
Right.
But he really he brought a new sound, a new way of I guess he was the guy. I look at it like this, man. He was the guy who really showed country guitar players that it was okay to stretch out a little bit and add a little bit of rock to your chicken picking, not in the fact that you had to finger tap like Eddie Van Halen or you had to do this, that, or the other, but you could stretch out and open those limitations on what chicken.
You can make your delay a little more. You can add some delay. You can add some. You can play a Strat on a country record. It's cool. Even though Reggie made it cool, you can play a Strat. Hey, and for those of you who don't know who Dan is, I mean, listen to some of those early Tracy Lawrence records. And,
Keith Urban.
Keith Urban, yeah. I mean, just good Lord.
Yeah, man. I mean, just and what did I think he did Clint Black Summer's Coming too, didn't he?
I believe you are right. Yeah.
Almost. He played the solo on that.
Yeah, he did play the solo. I can't remember. Clint played some guitar. Clint's a good guitar player. People don't realize.
Guitar player, man.
We didn't even name him, but would you love to turn on the radio and hear Clint Black? Wouldn't that be nice?
I'll tell you what. Amen to that.
All right, I'm going to jump on you here. Steve Lukather.
Love that man to death. And, gosh, man, here again, virtuoso in his own right. I mean, obviously not a chicken picker by no means, but yeah, I mean, I will say, man, I might be jumping forward here on you in this, but when you listen to Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Steve Lukather, those were the three guys that I cut my teeth on in the rock world. Now, I say
Don't
that.
Don't forget Eddie, Johnny. You're an Eddie fan.
I'm saying that in respect to the fact that Satriani and Vai and Steve Lukather. Now, granted, Lukather played in Toto, but he had some great solo stuff out as well.
Yep.
Van Halen and Rush and bands like that were iconic bands, you know, and Eddie, of course, you got to give Eddie.
He's in his own world. He doesn't count.
Yeah. But I'm saying the guys in the instrumental guitar realm, and I think Lukather was in that for a long while as well. And so those guys were in like a whole different. I kind of put Lukather and Frank Gambale together in that same vein. I mean, just unreal guitar playing, man. Stuff. And what I love about Steve Lukather too, man, is he's not afraid to jump into other genres either.
Yeah, you guys don't know. Yeah, he can jazz it up with the best of them.
I'm sorry, bud?
Yeah, I mean, people don't know that about Lukather. He could jump in a jazz band and be fine.
Oh, he can do anything, man. He's and I guess, you know, Matt, even with myself, brother, it was guys like Lukather who helped transform me into the guitar player I am, because as a kid, I wanted to be a Nashville session guitar player. So in order to be a session player at that time in the mid-'90s, you had to be able to play every style really well. And look at guys like Steve Lukather as a hero to base your studio session paralysis on, because he could play so much, so many different genres, get so many different tones, and I'm talking perfectly.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I mean, just an insane guitar player, and but I love Lukather as a friend too, man. He's a wonderful guy.
And I guess we did. I think we left Eric Johnson has to be there, because you do a lot of Eric Johnson. I mean, you do EJ stuff, so yeah.
To me, man, in his mind, in the way he thinks, the way he theoretically thinks on guitar, I don't think anybody can really touch Eric Johnson in this world today. I think he has brought guitar to a whole different level. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, you know, when Avaya Musicom came out, I don't think I listened to another guitar record for a whole year that year. Avaya Musicom was all I listened to.
Yep. And
here again, Steve's Boogie, you know, Cliffs of Dover, all the different styles that Eric was able to put into that record was just incredible, man.
Yeah.
But then again,
still doing it, man. Still doing it.
Yeah. Oh, still to this day. Yeah. And here again, another man that I got to know and be able to call a friend, and I just love Eric, man. But really, Eric's one of those guitar players I'd love to jump inside his head and say, okay, where did you come up with this idea of playing a 5-note, 4-note run and making it iconic? You know, no other guitar player plays like Eric Johnson.
No, I think next to maybe only Brian May, he's probably the most analytical guitar player, thinking-wise, out there, that just literally dissects every single thing.
If you ever pick up any of fans out there that are watching, if you pick up Eric's old Hot Licks video, it is really one of the ways that you can delve into his brain and kind of figure out how he's coming up with some of these scale patterns and stuff, and the circle technique with the pick and all these different things that Eric did. I'm just going to say this, probably one of the most innovative guitar players in our generation, for sure.
Yeah. He's a Chet Atkins, basically, you know, that he's just, it's like, this didn't exist, now here it is. Like, what? Where'd that come from? Yeah.
I think the most fun I've ever had in my life, as far as me and EJ is concerned, I actually was at a Dallas guitar show one year, and he was buying an old Marshall amp from Paul Reed Smith. I think it was an old early 60s or whatever Marshall. But he came into the booth, man, and literally just grabbed his guitar, plugged straight into the Marshall, and the tone he got, man, was just, I mean, there was no effects. It was just Eric Johnson raw with a guitar and an amp.
Them fingertips.
It was just mind-blowing, man. I mean, so people say, oh, well, Eric Johnson's Eric Johnson because all of his processing and effects and this. No, man. Eric Johnson will blow your mind plugging a guitar straight into an amp, man. I mean, he's just that kind of guy.
Yep. All right, I'm going to jump a little obscure. Not really, but you got to be a country guy. Clint Strong.
Oh, man. What do you say about Clint Strong? I mean, an amazing, amazing jazz guitarist in his own right. And to have all those years with Merle Haggard, man, I mean, how, you know, you can't take anything away from the man. he brought such a cool, unique sound to what Merle Haggard was doing at that time that Clint played with him. And I mean, of course, Clint plays the Dallas Guitar Show at times too, and does a nice little jazz set and plays just flawless. He's incredible. But I really do admire all the wonderful licks and stuff he brought to Haggard's sound.
Yeah.
So a true icon in his own right too, man. You got to hand it to him.
Jack Pearson.
Virtuoso, man. I've gotten to know Jack the last couple of years really well, and had him on the gospel album as well. My manager wanted me getting out into Nashville more and doing, going out and seeing my peers and my friends and whatever. And he got me out there watching Jack at 3rd and Lindsley one night, and Jack got me out to play. And gosh, man, a man that doesn't need any effects at all. He walks out there with one dirt pedal in his amp.
Squire Stratocaster.
Rip your face off. I know he played with the Allman Brothers and has done a lot of things in his career, but gosh almighty, man, such a wonderful, humble human being.
Homegrown Nashvilleian too.
Yes, he is. But I mean, as far as virtuosity goes, man, and effortless playing, and one of those guys that can just, you think he's going to train wreck, and then he just pulls himself out, and you go, how do you do that, man? I mean, that's just so cool.
I describe, people ask me, Jack, especially those descending runs, just right. I said, the best way I can explain it is like pouring water.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, he's kind of like Danny Gatton in that he can do these descending runs that you don't even think have any scalar value to them, but all of a sudden he turns it into that.
Yeah.
And you're like, I mean, dude, he's just one of those, touch him and you shake your head like, I don't know where that came from, but that was the coolest thing I've ever heard.
I quit. I give.
Yeah. But, to be on stage with a man and play with him, man, he just is such a humble guy and such a virtuoso, man. And I've, like I said, I've gotten to know Jack, and I'll tell you what, he's one of the guys that I'd love to sit down and take lessons with today.
Well, he gives them, man. He's a lesson guy, but you'd have to drive a long way now.
Yeah, I'd have to be about a 9-hour ride for me one way.
Yeah. Jack, great player, yeah.
Though with Jack, man, he's incredible.
Let's switch instruments.
All right.
Lloyd Green.
Oh. Buddy, you start getting into that world, man.
Well, this is a 2-part video, so.
Well, I'll say this, man. Country music wouldn't sound like country music without him. And it's like Roy Nichols, it's like Don Rich, it's like all the players that really helped create that sound that never really took the credit, never were really the big artists per se, but they helped really sculpt the tone and the beauty of what country music became. And so, I mean, absolute, musical icon, man. I mean, just flawless.
Paul Franklin.
Timeless beast, man. I mean, he is, I think Paul is the guy, he is the innovative guy on steel guitar.
Yeah.
When you think about it, man, you have your traditionalists, like Lloyd, and you have your guys like Doug Jernigan, who are Western swingers, who are jazz players, who are country, they can do all kinds of things on steel guitar. And I love Doug. I've played so many gigs with him. But yet, and John Huey, the balladeer, the man who could make a steel guitar cry like no other. But then Paul Franklin, man, was like the modern day innovator of steel guitar, and virtually can do anything on it.
He was doing fusion solo records in the 70s, man.
Yes.
Lasers, or what was the name of that record? Lasers or something like that. Yeah.
And then played with Don Kelly doing, all the pre-Garth Don Kelly stuff,
Of course, we could just go on forever, You go see the Time Jumpers, who are not the Time Jumpers. Well, he is with the Time Jumpers now, but who hasn't won a Grammy, or who haven't they played with,
Oh, man. But, here again, Paul, I think, really is like Brent in the iconic status of session musicians. Paul he's on the top of the charts, buddy. He's just but he's a flawless, amazing musician who who doesn't allow any fear in his playing. He just lets it go, man. And you know, you're mind blown every time you hear the man play.
And when you see Paul, live, he will be the first one there. He will set up his own gear, and he will be warming up an hour before his peers get there to play.
Yeah.
And you will go to see great players, and you will find yourself watching Paul Franklin do fills, just compliment somebody else doing a solo, because you're like, what in the crap is he over there doing? My God.
You know, but I think as a chicken picker, though, Matt, and you'll have to agree with me, I think as a country guitar player and a chicken picker, I spent a lot of time in my life loving steel guitar to the point at which you know, like I became Johnny Hiland by doing B-bender licks without a B-bender.
Right.
But where did all those come from? Steel guitar players.
Yep, absolutely.
From loving the sound of a steel guitar. It's, to me, it's what makes country music in a big way.
Absolutely.
And of course, it's sadly missed in a lot of today's music.
Yep.
But then again, I mean, it's my love for steel. I mean, I wished I had eyes good enough to play steel guitar really well. I mean, I can hack around on one pretty good, but the precision it takes to execute anything on that instrument in a flawless way, my hat's off to anybody. I mean, Doug Jernigan, John Huey, Lloyd, you know, Paul Franklin. I mean, the list goes on of amazing, amazing steel players. But it's one of my favorite instruments of all time.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's do a few more, and I'll let you off the hook, I promise.
All right, buddy. Sounds good.
Let's talk about what I think the tone pappy himself, Vince Gill. Mr. Eagle.
and with all due respect to Vince, man, you know, it's really hard to segue from the musician to someone of Vince Gill's artistry.
Oh, yeah.
I think when you look at Vince, if you look at Vince for just his guitar playing, he is the man that took the crying steel guitar and brought it to country guitar, and who can do it on a Tele or a Strat or a 335 or any guitar he puts in his hands. He has the sweetest sound and tone of any country player I've ever heard. And has his own iconic sound. But yet, when you hear him play Victim of Life Circumstances or Liza Jane or One More Last Chance or any of the, you know, the up-tempo songs that he had out in his career, he's an amazing chicken picker too. I mean, but he has that touch with Whenever You Come Around, Pocket Full of Gold, that whole album, man. I mean, some of Vince Gill's iconic stuff to me is like the guitar tone he got in Love Starts Slipping Away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, gosh, man. It's so creamy and lush. And it's like, I would love to just be able to have been a fly on the wall when he got some of those guitar tones and how he did it. You know, you hear him on record and you go, yeah, that's really cool, man. And then you go hear him live and they get that same tone and you're like, wait a minute.
That's what makes you mad. That's the part that makes me mad.
Man, that's just a Telecaster and a Twin. It's these, folks. It's the fingers.
It's absolutely. I hate him.
I will say that, I mean, Vince Gill is one of my absolute heroes as well, just like Ricky Skaggs and Steve Wariner. Those three guys right there were my go-to country listening material before Brent did all the Alan Jackson stuff and all that. Ricky Skaggs, Vince Gill, and Steve Wariner were the guys that really helped me cut my teeth in really loving what country music was turning into, because you know, I grew up listening to Haggard and Jones and you know, Waylon and Willie and Johnny Cash and all the greats that paved the way. But when I grew up, you know, I was a 10-year-old kid in 1985. And so, of course, Ricky Skaggs had Country Boy out then. He had Uncle Pen and Highway 40 Blues and all those. But when Vince came along, man, I mean, that first album he had out, you know, had Turn Me Loose and Victim of Life Circumstances, and then he had Oklahoma Borderline. And I mean, ridiculous. It didn't take long for me to love Vince Gill, man. That is for sure.
And I've always thought only Vince Gill could play for Vince Gill.
You're absolutely right, Matt. I mean, and that's why I say Ricky Skaggs, Vince Gill, and Steve Wariner all had their own three styles of guitar. Ricky was a B bender king, man.
Oh man.
And Steve Wariner had his own kind of Albert Lee-ish tone with the second position strat tone in his telly.
A little thinner.
Like with Linda and Baby I'm Yours and, all those iconic songs, Crash Course in the Blues. And
yeah.
So, I mean, those three guys really are my country music artist heroes that really help me cut my teeth in my guitar playing. But then again, as far as their guitar playing and musicianship goes, they all have their own identity, their own sound, and really help pave the way for me, man. So I'm my hat's off to all three of those guys.
Awesome. Well, Johnny, I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions, and I'll let you out here, buddy. But a lot of guys watching, a lot of young guys watching, and we covered this. Guys aren't as clean. Look, when you and I think you're a few years older than me. Just throwing that out there. But
just to let you know, I'll be 45 January 18th.
Oh man, I'm 40, going on 41. But that's what it is. That's why I can't play like you. You've got that many years on me.
Now you go. You'll find something, my brother. But you play your butt off too.
Last question. Guitar, Matt Lyerla.
All you folks out there watching this, you need to know Matt's kind of hard on himself, but he's one hell of a picker too.
Whatever.
Yeah, he's a hell of a picker in his own right, and so don't you let that boy.
Well, I appreciate that. He's
been to me for 20 years, and that's one of the reasons why he. I think one of the truest things in this business is to stay true to yourself, but stay humble through it all, because really, man, music is a gift from the good Lord, man. That's just how we choose to use it. And really, man, I mean, I love to think of Nashville in the old days, man, when all of us pickers were brothers and loved each other, wanted to help each other, had guitar pools, and if someone had a broken compressor, someone would give him one, that kind of deal. Nashville's not like that today, man, and everything is like in a big competition world now. I moved to Chatham, Virginia, man, to do one thing. To be with family, number one, because I sacrificed so many years being away from my family, and I lost my mom and dad early on in 2005 and 2007. But really, to be closer to family and to enjoy life, and to realize, I think one of the hardest things, Matt, and you'll probably agree with me in this, when I was 20 years old and in Nashville, 21 years old, moving to Nashville, music was everything. But as you start to mature in your life and you start to realize life is life outside of music, then I realized, wow, guitar is like number 4 in my life. Mm-hmm. God is first, my wife is second, my family and friends are third, music is 4th in my life. Mm-hmm. That takes it, and you know what? I'll say it this way: it takes a big man to admit you have priorities before music.
Right.
But I look at now as music as a gift. It's not something. I mean, yes, I've worked and practiced, and guitar's been my life all through my life. It was the gift God gave me to get this legally blind guy a purpose in my life. So I'm grateful and thankful for that every day. But I've learned how to set priorities and realize how to fulfill and follow through on those priorities. And that's hard to do when you've been a, go-to chicken picker all your life, and that's what people know you as. It's really hard in a way for me to sit here and tell you that guitar is 4th in my life now. But then again, I think that just comes with age and maturity, and you realize that you do have things in your life that are more important. So, but then again, I will say this: if you don't learn anything else from me, and you don't come on Johnny Hiland Official and watch me on Facebook, and soon to be watching me on YouTube, and you don't call me up or write me via highland007@comcast.net and take a lesson with me, then the one thing I want every picker out there to know is it's so important to play clean. Do not waste a note. Notes are too valuable. So play everything clean and always never stop practicing, never give up on your goal of being the best you can be. You know, even if you're like me and you have other priorities that are setting precedents in your life, doesn't mean you can slack off on guitar. You still have to keep up with it and practice every single day. And you need to buy a Johnny Hiland JH6 from KieselGuitars.com. There.
But I mean, what else do we need to say? We're done. I mean, yeah, you kind of answered my question. I was going to tell you, what advice would you have for players? Play clean. So you mentioned that. That's great. That's awesome.
Well, here's the other thing, buddy. I've seen a lot of guitar players, even since I moved to Virginia. I've had some guitar players come up to me and get a lesson here at the house, which people are welcome to do too if they come through Chatham, Virginia. But the fact is, I found a lot of pickers that get frustrated and they get in a rut with their own playing. And I have found that through my teaching, I've become more of a guitar psychologist as much as I have helping people find new scales and new licks and new ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing people have to remember when playing any instrument, if it was easy to do, everybody would do it.
Everybody would do it.
But it is worth having. It is worth doing. So don't get frustrated enough to where you throw it in the corner and forget about it. Pick that thing up, blow the dust off it, and realize that it's only going to say what you make it say.
That's right.
So if you get frustrated, don't get frustrated with it. Get frustrated with the fact that you haven't practiced enough or you're not willing to put in enough time on the instrument to get yourself good. So don't give up on, if you got a dream to be a guitar player, a chicken picker, or a rock player, or a blues player, whatever it is, don't give up on your dream of doing it. If you get frustrated, put it down for a while, but come right back and pick it up again. My biggest advice to anybody is don't give up on the dream if you have a dream to play guitar or any instrument. Music is a joy in life. It's a gift, and we just can't let it fall to the wayside. Also, all you people out there listening, we need to keep real country music alive. So
come on now, preach.
And guitar.
I can't tell you how nice it is to look at a billboard and see Shenandoah's coming to town and Restless Heart's coming to town.
I'm so glad, man, and blessed to see that there's a lot of acts that we loved in the '90s and stuff still out hitting the road, man, and playing shows.
It's really big again.
Well, I'm glad, and I will say this, Matt. I do think, man, I really believe. I watch RFD TV every Saturday night because I love Larry's Country Diner. I love the Grand Ole Opry Encore. I love the Marty Stewart Show, which I've done with Hank 3. I've done, I love all the shows. They promote traditional, true country music. And look, I don't have anything against what's going on in today's music world, guys, in Nashville. It's a new thing. And, okay, I'm a traditionalist. I love Waylon and Willie and Farron Young and stuff like that. That doesn't mean I don't understand where music is going. And if you love modern country, good on you. God bless you for it. But to me, it's, we need to support local television that's keeping true country music alive. And of course, chicken picking guitar, man, we got to keep it going and support your local guitar players. Go out and see them and support them.
That's right. As Don would say, all the guys who sang the songs we like, Johnny, are dead or look real bad.
Oh, that's awful, buddy. But it matter, man. Matter of fact, I'm going to see Ricky. Ricky's playing up here in Rocky Mount on the 12th of January. I'm going to go up and see him and might even jump up there with him. I don't know, but I love Mr. Ricky Skaggs. I'll follow that man till the end of time. Vince Gill, Steve Warner, same way. I just think we need to just keep, now Ricky's obviously doing more of the bluegrass thing these days, and God love him for that. I mean, he's a monster. He's an icon.
He's back to his roots,
I'm telling you, buddy, he's ripping that Mando up these days, man. And
that's right.
But I got to play with Ricky a few years ago at the Palace, man. He's been starting to put his country thing back together at times as well. So.
And people can find that on YouTube. You guys, did the record you did, Brand New Strings, Yep.
Brand New Strings with Ricky, and of course we did that live that night. But I will say this, man, I do want to take this opportunity too, Matt, and thank all of my fans out there through all these years, man, even in the low periods of my life, they've stuck with me, through thick and thin. And I just this last year, I put out my gospel album called Pickin for the Lord. And then just this past Christmas, 2 days before Christmas, we released my Christmas album I did with Brother Blake Padilla from the Fresh Factory, where I did the gospel album. But that album's called Jammin' on Christmas, and we did it like the Joey DeFrancesco, Danny Gatton album, Relentless. We did it kind of like that, but we did Christmas tunes. And so it's B3 and guitar, and man, we had a fun time. And that record is now available at cdbaby.com. Just look up, and then you'll see it in the list of albums up there.
I'll put it in the links under the video for everybody.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
So
on the Chatham sessions, I'm doing kind of working on new material up here, and actually planning on doing a new True Fire video or course this year. Got a lot of great things in the works, but I'll tell you, Matt, it's literally my fans out there, man, who keep me, and friends like you who keep me doing this. It takes a lot of support, man, to help keep an artist going these days. And so I'm grateful to each and every one of you, and I love you, and God bless you for what you do.
Yeah, buddy. So, Johnny, we can find you on johnnyhiland.net. Is that still your official site?
Yeah, johnnyhiland.net, and the site has not been updated in a while, and I apologize for that. My web designer works for the government. He's a busy man.
That's all right. I'll put links to this, and I'll put links to the other stuff. Johnny, I want to remind people they need to check you out on Facebook. You're doing your Sunday Q&As. They need to go to your YouTube channel and subscribe on YouTube to Johnny Hiland's channel.
Yeah, please.
Coming on that, I hear.
Yeah, I'm just now building my YouTube channel, man, and I really want to get that up and going and start doing lives on YouTube. I'd love that. And but the fact is, folks, I bring these weekly things to you guys because I love y'all, and I want you to, get a chance to know me for the person I am, not just coming to a show and seeing me play live. It's, the fact is, I'm a real guy like anybody else. I love picking. I love talking gear and showing off stuff and having fun. And we do giveaways. We do all kinds of fun stuff. So, yeah, go to Johnny Hiland Official on Facebook. Please like and follow me there. And, of course, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. We are going to get that thing happening this year, even more so. And but anything we can do to show you fans a good time and have fun, bring you into our home here on the weekends and have fun with you, that's what we want to do. It's all because we love you and we appreciate the support.
Well, great. Well, Johnny, man, you look great. And
Thanks.
Kimmy looks great. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, man. God bless everybody. And have a prosperous new year, man. 2020 is going to be, everyone's saying, oh, we got 2020 vision. Well, that didn't really work for me. But hey, 20's here, and it's going to be an amazing year. I'm so excited, man. And
I'm going to send you a Big Blue Nation UK hat, buddy. We got to fix that hat situation.
Oh, well, hey, I love VT, man. I love Virginia Tech. But I will say this, man. I will be at the Winter NAMM show, too, in Anaheim, man. So for those folks who come out to the NAMM show, come see me at the Gill Guitars booth. And, Matt, I might have to do one cool thing before we go.
Go ahead, buddy.
Can you talk to these folks just for a minute while I grab something? My brother. Since we're on the screen here, I'm just going to show everybody. Here's my new Johnny Hiland model, Gill.
Is it the slide clip? No.
Yeah.
Who called it? Who called it? The slide clip. I called it.
Do you see what's on there? It's a new Johnny Hiland mag slide.
No kidding. Is it porcelain?
Slide.com, guys. But yes, I've put my old slide clip back on my Johnny Hiland JH6 Gill guitar. But here it is, guys. There's the Johnny model.
Look how pretty that is. Let's see the back of that sucker.
Matt, you need to buy one of these, brother.
Yes, sir. I will, buddy. I will buy one.
You know what I did, though, brother, just to let everyone know why this guitar is so different, is I moved the switch and the knobs up closer so that it's easier for you to get access. So you can play, do a volume swell, and flip your pickup switch all at the same time. Then that's what you cannot do on a standard T-style guitar. So Gill guitars really blessed me. And here is the back of this beauty.
Gorgeous.
Here's the back, and look at that sculpted heel there, brother. That's pretty cool.
That is gorgeous.
But yeah, that's the back of it. And But yeah, KieselGuitars.com, guys. Go. There's actually some in guitars in stock on the page right now, but $15.99 will get you into this guitar right here, all USA custom built. I'm so proud of it, and I wanted to show it off to y'all on here with Brother Matt. I don't think you've that close, have you, brother?
I don't think I have. I will buy one. In the next couple of weeks, I promise I will get one on order.
Well, I'll tell you what, buddy, I'm just thrilled to death with that little guitar, and it's a guitar that's really inspired me to create new music and to just to step out on a new limb, so to speak. And I've been learning a lot on guitar myself, brother. I'm still growing every day too.
Well, that's scary.
When I was trying to give people, some advice, you got to understand, guys, you have to keep growing on the instrument. And just because I'm Johnny Hiland and people say, oh, great, all these great things, I'm still learning every day just like you. So don't give up on the instrument, man. That's all I'll say.
So basically that tells me I can't gain any ground on you. You keep the pull away from me. I just give up.
Brother, I'm into super Locrian scales and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, man. You're going to be a bloody beast before it's over with.
Got to catch up to guys like Guthrie Govan there's a young boy out there I'm trying to think of the name of that's just another beast out there, man. There's so many amazing. I'll say this, Matt. Move to Virginia, brother. You wouldn't believe there's kids down the street, man, that are playing local gigs here. There's one boy down here he's probably 17, 18 years old. That boy is tearing butt on a guitar. So when you start to think, well, man, I'm getting up there, I'm doing good in the ranks of guitar and everything, you go to a local town and see a young boy just blow. That's what makes this world amazing, man. When you can see people in a small town that play music locally, and that's why I'm saying we got to support local bands, local guitar players, and just help keep good old country music alive and chicken picking the same way.
Yeah, well, buddy, there's one thing you get to do that I don't, is you get to wake up every day, look in the mirror, and know that you are the greatest chicken picker that has ever walked planet Earth, buddy.
No, brother, I appreciate you being so kind.
You are, buddy. You are. They're great guitar players, and when I say that, I am not limiting you as being that's all you can do by any means. I know better, and everyone else does too. But if I narrow you down, you are the greatest chicken picker that has ever walked this planet, buddy.
Oh man, well I thank you for that, brother, and I'll pay you later. But I give all the credit to the good Lord for that, brother. It was a gift to me early on in my life, and now I'm actually in Chatham playing full band tracks for people. So I'm playing drums, and bass, and keyboards, and guitar, and mandolin, and fiddle, and all kinds of stuff on records now. So pulling out all my other musical talents too, and trying to blow the cobwebs off some of these things. And so life is days, man. No complaints on this end. I'm just, like I said, I'm blessed to have all the fans I do and all the folks watching. If you aren't a fan of mine, I hope you become one, man. But I thank you for all the support. And Matt, appreciate your friendship all these years, bro.
Yeah, same here, buddy. Well, listen, we're going to get off of here. I thank Johnny so much for joining us. Again, don't forget to check the links out below where you can find out how to get Johnny's music, where he's going to be, his website, his Facebook page. Don't forget to like and subscribe my page. Click the bell. Also, make sure you do the same for Mr. Johnny. Go to his YouTube page, which I'll put a link for you in the video. Make sure you like and subscribe to his page. Find out, get videos immediately when he puts them out so you can stay in touch. Johnny, Happy New Year. Say hi to Kimmy, and I wish you the best, buddy.
Hey, man, I thank you so much, man. God bless everybody out there, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, buddy. All right.